Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be able to welcome our valued clients to today's webinar. I'm Stephen Lester. I'm the Networking Product Manager for Insight UK. Insight have strategically worked in partnership with Plantronics on today's presentation to deliver some exciting content for you, and we hope you'll find it beneficial towards your organisation's future. Today, we're going to give you an overview of how Plantronics technologies can enhance the workforce experience within your organisation and help give you a competitive edge. And we'll also be talking around how unified communications technology can revolutionise your collaboration experience within your workplace, and how the world of work is radically changing what we're referring to today as the fourth network. 10 lucky attendees of today's webinar will receive a free of charge Plantronics Voyager UC headset. So please do stay until the end, where we'll be giving you details of how to get your hands on that prize if you're one of the lucky winners. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to hand over to Declan Doyle from Plantronics, who will be taking you through today's presentation. Over to you, Declan.
Thank you, Stephen, and welcome all, and thank you very much for your time. So we're here to discuss, well, maybe take a different point of view than typical on this whole area and talk about what we call the fourth network. So that begs the question as to, well, what is the fourth network? Well, the easiest way to answer that question is to say, well, what is networks 1, 2, and 3? And this is how we see it, and that is everything we're discussing here is around collaboration, which really means around real-time communications. That's real-time voice and real-time video, and of course voice is a subset of video. So we're talking about data packets of real-time information streaming across the world from one person to another. And typically they begin in some sort of a hosted PBX or premises-based PBX or cloud-based collaboration platform. It doesn't really matter. But from wherever they're created, they transition across to some carrier, and they facilitate the transfer of the information on the larger scale across the country or across the globe. And that's network number 1. At some point then, that signaling, those data packets arrive towards the enterprise that's going to be receiving them. And typically they have a wide area network, maybe through a firewall. And we consider that whole consideration to be network number 2. And then number 3 is when these data packets, this content arrives at the campus or at the building where it's going to be consumed, and it transitions across the local area network number 3, and ultimately across maybe Ethernet or Wi-Fi capability, and it terminates in an endpoint. And when we're talking about contemporary endpoints, we're typically talking about ultrabooks or laptops or iPads, or maybe even a mobile phone on the Wi-Fi network, and there it terminates at that endpoint. But the challenge is the signal is not yet with the person who has to use it, and that's where the fourth network exists. It's the interface, it's the connection, it's the network between the endpoint, the PC, or the mobile, or the iPad, and the actual user. And as you can see from this graphic, it illustrates very well that everybody absolutely fixates and focuses upon the first 3 networks to ensure that the licensing is correct, the quality of service is correct, the quality of experience is right. The fourth network is every bit as critical. And as you can see from the graphic, if any one of the 4 networks is not fit for purpose, then the overall agenda of delivering a seamless voice or video experience doesn't work. And that's why the fourth network is so important. And you know what? It's getting more difficult for that fourth network to work because quite apart from technology, the world is changing. The world of work is changing, and it's not technical decisions that are causing that to happen. It's business decisions. So let's talk about what business owners care about. What do CEOs care about? Well, typically, they, of course, care about saving and making money. Of course, and they're always looking at ways to make their business more efficient. And without question, the number 1 way of reducing cost in a business is around property. So whether you're a bank in the city and you don't wish to expand to a 2nd floor, although you're getting more staff, or whether you're a local or health trust and you have legacy buildings that you want to reduce, the generally accepted statistic for reduction of property optimization is 50% in a 10-year period. And the key thing about property optimization is that it's an empirical number. You can measure rent, you can measure rates, you can measure lighting, you can measure heating, you can measure insurance. And so it provides empirical hard number savings to the business that allows them in fact to invest invest in the latest technology in order to allow that rationalization to take place. It's a hard ROI. The second thing then, I just answered the point then. So how do businesses get to optimize their property? I know. Let's introduce flexible working practices where people can work from wherever they are. Okay, so second thing that businesses care about is, of course, getting, but more and more keeping the best people, because the best people always have choices. Even in the recession, they had choices. When economies are picking up, they have more choices. And businesses are always, in the knowledge economy, people are always looking for people who are the best. The problem is that best people are always looking to see what's best for them. And that means, obviously, they want the right job, and they want opportunity, the right seniority, the right wages, the right bonuses. But increasingly, they're also looking at how they're expected to work. And attractive as a job might be, but if you've got to be in Tower Bridge every morning at 8:30 in order to do it, more and more people are saying, do you know what, that doesn't suit me and it doesn't suit my life, and I'm going to look for something that gives me a better quality of experience for myself. And again, as more companies allow more flexibility in their workforces, those companies who do not look worse. So if a business wants to keep the very best people, they need to look at flexible working. You can see there's a bit of a pattern to what I'm saying here, because the third thing that businesses care about, of course, is managing risk. But in this case, I mean business risk and business continuity. So whether it's a train strike, a tube strike, flooding, snow, the Olympics, the football, there's multiple scenarios that cause disruption in how people get from A to B. And the best way to shield against that in business is to make people to be in a position where they can work productively from wherever they happen to be. And I know what I'll do as an organization, we'll deploy flexible working. So my point is that businesses are looking at innovation in how their people work for all of these substantial business reasons. And so that means that where people are working is changing quickly. And unfortunately, the workspaces that people find themselves in sometimes look like this, but often, frankly, doesn't. On a really good day, it can look like this, which is fabulous. Most people probably feel it looks a little like this, but they're all great. Unfortunately, the reality for most of us, when people talk about working with less space and in more difficult scenarios, is we feel like this, where people find themselves unable to concentrate because they have a suboptimal place that they're meant to work from, and they find themselves in restrooms and in corridors and stairwells and in cars sitting on mobile phones because they've nowhere to talk and nowhere to concentrate. And the reason they're able to do that, and this is a big problem for people who are actually looking to deploy these wonderful collaboration tools from our vendor partners, is that the battle for voice has been lost already to the mobile phone. I would challenge that most people on this line probably pick up their mobile phone first to make a call. In fact, the number of calls in the enterprise is over 55% now. And of course, mobile phones are powerful, but they can't do everything. They can't facilitate what we're doing right now, which is a collaborative meeting. They can't share content. They're very poor at video. And so they're not perfect, but they are the first thing we reach for. And unless the organization provide something to stop what's happening right here in this image happening, we'll just ignore all of these wonderful collaboration tools and pick up our mobiles and carry on. You see, we learned this in Plantronics ourselves, that your customers and yourselves, I should say, if you're migrating to flexible working, it's not about the technology. Technology is a piece of it, but there's three legs to the stool. And the first leg is what we call bricks, and that is the working environment. And Open Plan does not cut it, because Open Plan is very good for space, but very bad for sound. And unlike sight where you can close your eyes, you cannot close your ears if people are talking. And if somebody's speaking in a language you understand within a certain distance of you, you have no choice but to be disrupted. So these are the images taken from our own office in Royal Wootton Bassett near Swindon, where we went through this process in the last few years. Initially in Royal Wootton Bassett and then spread from there. So an Open Plan, a flexible office has to have flexibility, but also has to have defined areas for different types of engagement. So obviously communicative working as part of a regular team, collaborations where virtual and ad hoc team meetings take place, contemplate as some area where people can relax and allow themselves to daydream a little, to come up with some of the ideas, as we often do in non-conventional environments. But perhaps the most challenged to actually get in most offices is somewhere you can concentrate, somewhere that's private, and somewhere that allows you to get on with your work. So we could spend the time just talking about the Plantronics story, but suffice it to say, we started in Royal Wood and Bassett, we spread very quickly to Cologne and Madrid. From there we went to Paris and Amsterdam. From there we went to Corporate HQ in Santa Cruz, and from there on to the Asia Pac regions. So we went from being a conventional operating company to be a completely flexible, cultured company over the space of the last few years, and it's proven to be extremely successful for us as an organization. But so the bricks are key. The bite system, the technical infrastructure, frankly, is the bit that people are most comfortable with, and everybody believes and knows, in fact, that contemporary collaboration technologies, like such as what we're using right now, work if they're deployed properly. The biggest challenge for an organization to get people to change is to get people to change. People don't like change, and people don't like being told that they don't have their desk anymore, and they don't like that they're losing their monitor and their view out the window and all the trappings of corporate status that they've picked up over the years. And frankly, sometimes the way they experience the new way of working is suboptimal, because very often when people, your organizations decide, let's experiment with WebEx, or let's experiment with Skype, or let's experiment with video, or let's experiment with whichever platform it happens to be, this is a typical scenario. So you have your user, he may well still have his desk on, he'll have a laptop, he may have a tablet, he may have a mobile phone, and they start trying something new, and they feel like, what button do I press? Which app is it? Can they hear me? How do I sound? What's ringing? Everything's ringing. Which button do I answer? And can they even hear me? Where's my audio? Which device should I be using? It can be a very frustrating experience. And so these wonderful platforms, which we all know work well, don't deliver upon their promise, because the environment for the user at the end of the fourth network is not fit for purpose. It hasn't been planned in the same way as the other three networks were planned. And this is a typical scenario. People say flexible working, I don't like it, and they resist because of the scenarios that I drift off here, because people worry about can they hear, and they worry about can they be heard, and they're juggling technologies that they don't want to do. And the problem is, it's even worse than that, as I mentioned, because quite apart from figuring out how to make your voice collaboration work, you often have the problem, frankly, where you're in those suboptimal environments. Very few places are good for work now. And if you don't have a dedicated desk, it's even worse. So how do you handle that? And increasingly, workers are not just managing voice, but they're managing music. And they're managing music because they're allowed. There's been a change in culture in the office, where 64% of people say that they can now listen to music in the office, and they're listening to music primarily because it's aiding them with concentration, it's aiding them with open plan, it's aiding them with avoiding distraction. So that's a real challenge to an organization who are trying to deploy soft clients, because people are using headphones, all right, they're just the wrong ones. And this is how most people feel. They say, right, I'm in the office, it's noisy already, I know what I'll do. I'll bring in my Bose or my Beats or my Bang & Olufsen or my high-end headphones. I'll use them to listen to music. Oh, look, there's a soft client. I'll plug them in and I'll make calls. So I've got a new word for you today. It certainly was new to me, and that is psychographic. And let me explain it. So you hear a lot about Generation X and Generation Y and millennials and all these terms to describe groups of people. But there is a new one, and there's another one, and it's called Generation C. And what the C stands for is connected. And they are those people, probably like everybody in this call, who are comfortable with the current connected world that we live in, who are comfortable in social media, comfortable with multiple devices, comfortable with being connected to the world all the time. And what psychographic means is it's not age specific. So there's people of every generation who can Gen C. It's not just restricted to the people under X, Y, Z age. And if we look around all of our offices, and we look around our tube and our trains and all of these things, we see people who are evidently very comfortable in contemporary world, irrespective of what age they are. But the problem is this, is people bring these personal devices into the workplace, and one of three bad things happen. Either they're listening to their music and they miss their phone calls because they're not connected, or two, they listen to their music and they take off their music device to put on their comms device to make a call, which is not elegant, or three, and the most common problem is that people plug those music devices into their iPad, into their Surface Pro 4, and suddenly they say, you know what, this soft client they're pushing sounds terrible. Yeah, I'm not going to use this. I'm just going to use my mobile. Because, of course, these devices are not optimized to be used with those clients. But worse than that, they're not optimized to deal with the noise in the coffee shop or in the station or in the open plan office that almost inevitably exists, as we mentioned earlier on. And everybody, the supplier, the IT department, everybody gets the blame because the Ford network has not been managed. And if you accept the notion of this Ford network, you'll realize that particularly in flexible working, it's everywhere. You know, it surrounds us all. You know, how we work and how we interact with our colleagues is done in one place or another, and they're not particularly easy environments from an acoustic point of view. And you know, if you could take it even further than that, and if I was to say to everybody on the call here, right, okay, you're actually awake 16 hours a day. So you get up and you're awake 16 hours and then you sleep for about 8 hours. So over 16 hours, not just your work time. How many devices do you use? Personally, you know, you might use something for running or you might use something for walking. You're probably going to be commuting to some degree in a car or on a train. You might be talking at that time. You know, obviously you're going to be collaborating in work, whatever that looks like, over mobiles and over PCs, most likely, or even with desk phones. You might be using music as a barrier to noise or just for relaxation with high-end headphones. And of course, you might be watching, obviously a gamer, or more likely you're watching the soccer, or you might be watching the rugby, or all three, and you might be using your iPad instead of headphones for that. And most people, when they actually look over the round of what they use and what they carry in their bag and what they use in the office, say they touch between 3 and 5 devices a day. So we're surrounded by this stuff in one way or another, and usually you've spent a lot of money on it yourself, quite apart from what the enterprise does. And it's one of the reasons we have such a comprehensive portfolio of devices to try and cater for every single scenario that the user finds themselves in, both professionally and personally. So we'd be probably very well known for our contact center and customer service portfolio. That industrial intensive voice would be our brand, where our brand came from. You know, now the growth of flexible working and soft clients and mobile clients means that our enterprise and UC portfolio is extremely popular as well. I mentioned about your 16-hour day, and again, increasingly we've had great success and traction around our backbeat music portfolio as well. And finally, another great growth area for us is PC and the gaming. So, you know, as an agenda, Plantronics sees your entire 16-hour day as being our target audience. And the values we bring in enterprise and contact center are exactly the same engineering and audio fidelity qualities that we bring to mobile and PC. So people look at our brand and say, I know what that stands for. And you know what? It's even going on from there, because we have a fundamental principle in Plantronic, and we call it Plantronics. We call it Beyond Audio. And so the core point is, like I've been making already, is that work is evolving, and so are we as an organization. And there's a fundamental principle that smart devices, the smarter we can make our technology, the smarter it is and the better it is for everybody. And that's our Beyond Audio strapline. And we've been doing that for the last 4 or 5 years now. We've been saying, right, what other things can we do with our technology to make them better? Because, you know, we all live in the last 5 years, we live in what we call a context-aware computing world, which means kind of nothing, frankly, unless I say to you, well, you know, you're on the motorway and your car has active cruise control, which is standard in a VW Golf now, and it controls the speed of your car relative to the car in front. You walk into a restroom and the light comes on. Or you check in on Facebook and it knows where you are. So if you think about it, you walk into a building and the door opens automatically. The extent to which systems are surrounding you and attempting to predict what you want and what you're going to do to make your day easier is profound. And if you thought about how many systems are surrounding you, trying to do things on your behalf right now today, you know, it's incredible. So we've seen that trend come. So we've been engineering intelligence into our devices for the last 5 years. And any of you who use Plantronics, particularly in our UC portfolio and in our wireless portfolio for Blackwire and for Voyager, will have seen how clever our devices are at doing stuff like my mobile phone rings. I put on my audio, my Edge, and it auto answers. Or if I start speaking on my focus, it knows I'm speaking and flags to me that I'm speaking. Or if I'm listening to music and take the headset off, the music pauses on my backbeat sense. That's just nice. I put it back on, the music starts playing again. And there's several other functions in there as well of how far away I am from my PC, the fact that when I'm on my mobile phone, I can switch my presence from Skype for Business on a call. We've been looking to make context-aware computing devices integrated into our audio devices and have been doing so and all of this capability is unique to Plantronics, I should say. It's a major differentiator for us. And so people get the best possible intuitive experience. And as I mentioned, it's personified in one of our latest devices. Because the Voyager Focus is built on the back of a Voyager platform, which is all about mobility and voice connected to mobile phones and tablets and PCs for people who are on the go and working from anywhere. It takes it to the next level because quite apart from being fully certified for enterprise voice across any of the major soft client platforms, it also is a full stereo hi-fi device. And you can certainly go ahead and Google it and look it up, its reviews relative to the biggest brands, and judge for yourself as to whether you consider that to be credible. But the idea being is that, you know, as a brand, we see ourselves going from, historically, we would absolutely know that we're an accessory, you know, attached to a desk phone in a contact center, that's what our brand came from, to being a companion. So here you have a typical scenario. This chap looks like a boardroom, and what's he doing? Is he connected to his mobile phone on a call? I don't know. Is he playing Spotify music off his mobile? Maybe. Is he connected to a PC on a webinar? Possibly. Is he listening to internet radio or listening to YouTube or watching something else? Don't know, don't care. A single device to provide multiple functions for the user, both personally and professionally. So it's a true companion in the same way as your mobile phone is a companion, because you don't just use it for work typically. You have lots of other personal stuff running on it as well. It's exactly the same analogy. And that kind of makes it kind of interesting for an organization because it's a big change. You know, so you take this fourth network now and you look at kind of how important it is to the business success, to allowing people to work flexibly work flexibly simply. And you realize, hold on, that means there's going to be a lot more of these devices out in the field because they're going to be critical to success. They are getting significantly more sophisticated, as you probably gathered there, and as a result of that, they're getting more valuable. They're getting more expensive. They're not throwaway. They're not disposable. And what do we do about that? Well, the good news is, in addition to our devices, we've recognized this trend coming as well, and we have launched a Plantronics Manager Pro. And Plantronics Manager Pro is a cloud-based single pane of glass for enterprises to manage their Fort network estate. And it's a software as a service model sold to our resellers. So Insight can brief you on about it, but you know, the notion is that in any given flexible working deployment, deploying soft clients, something like 30% of the investment goes around audio devices. So that's an investment you want to manage. You want to manage it from the point of view of asset management. You want to ensure it's configured properly. You want to make sure you have no conflicts, and you want to ensure that you're leveraging your warranty to the max to milk that asset. So Manager Pro is a new cloud-based single pane of glass for all of that management, and then we'll have several modules, the first of which is in fact asset analysis, but we're going to have more modules launching over the course of this year to provide a really comprehensive suite of tools that allows the Fort network, which currently frankly is the Wild West, chaos reigns, nothing takes place there in any sort of organized manner, to be brought in and embraced by the organization as a management, an element of the solution that they can manage. And as you can see from the graphic here, it's actually quite clever, because we're fully realized that although we prefer people to use Plantronics, I think it's fair to say we understand people who use other brands, and it allows you from an asset management point of view to actually track those as well. So it allows a single pane of glass to manage your estate, whatever's being used on it, and give insight to the organization about what's going on there. And that really brings to the next point, which is why, well, it makes life better for the enterprise. This is a significant investment. These devices are very sophisticated. They're working with very sophisticated soft and mobile clients, and we want to have a way of centrally managing and updating and securing and configuring that network. And that's what it does, and it gives the enterprise that capability. The second thing it does, of course, is our devices are already very intuitive and simple. But of course, if there's an oversight from the organization, from enterprise, that allows them to tweak and optimize and run that from a central location, well, then that has to be better for user experience, rather than the user having to try and configure and set everything themselves. There can be oversight. Of course, they can do that to a degree, but there can be oversight from the enterprise to make sure it all works with the company policies. And of course, it's an opportunity, hopefully, for our partners to have a new and incremental dialogue with our customers around this Fort network and its management. So, but you know, just to conclude, really, what are we looking to really do? We're looking to make it simple. We're looking to take away the petty frustrations that users have when they try to live the dream of flexible working. We're looking to make our technologies plug and play and simple. If they're not that, then we've failed. But we're very confident that that is the case. The second thing we're trying to do is capture this information both from the user perspective and from the enterprise perspective to make the user experience better. You know, as I said, I'm on a call, I take off my headphones, my call goes on mute so that I'm not distracting people. The same set of headset, I take it off when I'm listening to music and it pauses. That's the sort of intuitive capability and several other functions that makes it capturing information that's good for the user. And of course, sharing with the enterprise some other details as well for asset management and configuration. But really, it's all about one thing. And that is just allowing the user to get on with the day, do what they want to do, professionally and personally, and go from 8 a.m. in the morning till 11 p.m. at night, connected in the way they want to connect with a minimum of frustration. That's our goal and that's our agenda. And as I mentioned, you know, it's a very significantly growing opportunity for us. You would know us, everybody, this is our legacy, and this is obviously still the engine room for business, and we're very proud of it, the contact center industrial voice scenario. Flexible working, and the notion that people will have access to their business and enterprise communication platforms wherever they are is an incremental opportunity, and we're very excited about it. It's grown very strongly in the last number of years, and it's continued to grow at a pace. But frankly, you know, we have a bigger picture, a bigger agenda than that, and that is the notion that as an individual, as a person, we're awake 16 hours a day, we're connecting all the time, and we want to be the brand that facilitates that in the most intuitive and progressive and reliable manner, and that's who we are. And, you know, I want to say thank you very much for taking the time to listen to our perspective. We will be delighted to help you investigate more of this area. Obviously, Insight are on standby, a fantastic partner for Plantronics, and we will be delighted jointly to support you wherever we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Declan, for that overview on how headset technology is changing within the workplace. Plenty to think about there. Thank you to everybody for attending today's webinar. Winners for the free headsets will be drawn at random following this call, and any winners will be notified by the end of the week. Please allow 28 days delivery for your prize. If anyone would like to discuss their collaboration journey in a little bit more detail with an expert from Plantronics, then please contact me at stephen.lester@insight.com, and we'll be happy to fix you up with a call with somebody who can talk about your UC journey in more detail. If anyone has a larger opportunity, typically 200 seats or more, then Plantronics have a wide range of demo products that are available to trial within your own workplace to see what works for you within your organization. Again, contact me if you would like to participate within that trial program, and we can help arrange that for you here at Insight. And if anybody wants to go and have a look at that new workplace experience that Declan kindly showed earlier that Plantronics have at Wharton Bassett, and the different areas for concentration, relaxation, collaboration, I would really strongly suggest anybody who is moving into UC deployment for the first time to take a day out and go and visit that office, because it really is state of the art in terms of how the workplace has evolved over the years, and a great experience. Again, if you would like to take advantage of that and go and see how Plantronics work for themselves, then contact me and we can arrange a visit for you to go to Wharton Bassett and see that for yourselves. Much more information is available, of course, on Plantronics' website. They have a great guide there exploring 7 steps to successful UC deployment, and the web link is there on screen for you now. So that's all from me. Hopefully we'll have a few winners from today's call, so look out for your email notification later on. And I thank you very much for your time today. Have a great day.